So yeah, I am a PTA member. I'm actually a PTA member at Lowry Elementary School, but my kids went to Sickles High School. My daughter still goes there, and I participate in everything that they do in Sickles because my daughter's in the band. So I am there every Friday as a band dad, cheering on the Sickles Griffins. Great wall of sound. So it's been fun.
I'm running for school board in District 1, which is, but my kids are zoned for District 3, which is interesting. I guess they all overlap at Steinbrenner High School. So that's the PTA I belong to. I've been very active with my children's sports and their activities, and I go to Great American Teach-In, so I've always been very active in the schools. I support choice because I think it's important. We have wonderful programs in this county. I also support choice for nonprofit charter schools, but I strongly oppose for-profit charter schools. And I think parents need to be informed. I think it's very difficult for a parent to know what is a good charter school and what's not a good charter school. And I think that is a mixed message that we're receiving. And I think that there needs to be transparency. And I'm going to give you an example. There's a school that I've advocated for several of my students for an IEP, and I knew it was a very not a very strong charter school, and I thought this year was the year that finally their scores were going to be up. I drove by last week, and they have a new name and a new program. So I think it's a loophole. I think that most parents are busy and they don't understand that, you know, just because the school looks beautiful or the uniforms look beautiful, that doesn't mean that they're getting a quality education. We are, you know, we're in the midst of you know, catastrophic economic issues in our schools, and $121 million is going to go next year to those charter schools. There are some great charter schools like Pepin, Trinity, but 80% of them are inadequate and they're not serving our children well, and parents don't know. So as a board member, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very, I'm going to be there physically. I'm also going to require, I want transparency. I want parents to know, what is the turnover on the administrators there? What is the turnover on the teachers? What are the qualifications for the teachers? What are their grades? I think when you have a board that is so pro-privatization, they're not asking those questions. And I'm going to be asking those questions because at the end of the day, it's what's best for parents and what's best for students. My biggest worry is when students go to a charter school that is inadequate, and 2 years later, they're coming back to the public schools. So that's making it twice as difficult for our educators to serve those students.
I believe the best person to decide where a child goes to school is the parent. And I believe that the dollars that we spend in education should follow the student. So I'm a big believer in that. But I'm also a big believer that you know, our public schools need to be the very best they possibly can be. And that's my job as a school board member, to ensure that the public school option is the best option for our students. The majority of our students do go to public schools. And I'm proud that in District 1, we have amazing schools. We have no failing schools in District 1. And we have a majority A and B school district with a few C schools that we're working on to make sure that they go up to the A-B level as well. But as far as transparency goes, we need to hold our charter partners accountable and make sure that they are providing the same quality education, if not better than the education that we're providing in our public schools. For the last few years, we've had a literacy challenge, and that is because of a number of different factors. One of the things that we picked up right away is that we had really no standardized curriculum across the whole entire district to really combat literacy. I think our new superintendent has done a good job in pointing that out, and now we've developed programs and to enhance our literacy programs throughout the state and throughout the district. And one of the things that I think is important from a literacy perspective is that we get early access to these students. So VPK is vitally important, and we need to do a better job of ensuring that all of our students use the Hillsborough County VPK options as possible. The earlier that we can get our students into our system, the better we can prepare them for kindergarten and prepare them to get to a place where they can read at a proficient level by the third grade. So it's hugely important. One of the things that we just purchased was a new phonics program. And if you can believe, a district of our size didn't have a standardized phonics program until just recently. So, from a district's perspective, literacy has been a huge issue. But in my district, I have a majority Hispanic district, and we have a very diverse district, and we have a lot of English language learners in my district as well. But the good news is, even with all of the challenges that we do have in our school district, we are providing a quality education and providing our students with great schools. Like I said, all of our schools are A, B, or C in District 1.
I'm going to start with something positive. I think the strengths are our teachers. I mean, we have an amazing group of teachers and supporting staff. Our administrators are working so hard. Our assistant principals of curriculum dealing with all these changes, our guidance counselors, our custodians. I think what we have is the people that we have. I think they're amazing. Our teachers work constantly with all the changes. So I think that's what we have. The strength is our teachers. Also the programs that we offer. We offer amazing magnet programs, IB programs. We offer, just from elementary all the way up, we offer incredible programs, but we need our parents to know about that. Probably our weaknesses, I think, are recent weaknesses. I think the shift that we're making with the elementary school curriculum recently in months, I'm very concerned about that. I think the shift in script learning teachers, we went to college for a reason, right? So we need to modify and individualize lessons for our students, and not every child is going to fit in the same box. The other huge weakness for me is the increase in testing. There's nothing worse than having a child out of school for 6 months, as they have been, and then coming back in and telling a child they're working below level. Who you think you are is who you become. And that really worries me. At my center the other day, I had a child come in and they were working about a year below level. And so I brought the mom to the side and I told her, this is what we need to work on. A child doesn't need to know that they're working so below level and feel bad about themselves. We need to kind of group kids, and we need to stop focusing on teaching for the test, because, this test is about to leave. It's about to be obsolete. So, we have new standards coming. We don't need to keep teaching to the test. Although I'm running for District 1, I'm very interested in the entire district. And for my personal experience, I moved here when I was 8 years old. English wasn't even my first language. I grew up with a single mom. I grew up without much, and I'm a product of the public schools. So for me, I really want to advocate for children like me. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I feel like there's been so many opportunities for me here. So I think we need to go back to the basics. I think we need to teach children a love of learning. We need to promote reading. We need to approach the back to the basics from very early on. From VPK, we need to strengthen. That inequity is coming. Kids are coming in kindergarten where some children can't even identify a letter and some children are reading. That is so disproportionate, and there's so much inequity in that. And then we need to make sure we use restorative practices to motivate children. Kids don't need to be arrested in schools. We need to help children and guide them. I'm a strong believer, even though I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, that college isn't for everybody. We can do great in trade schools and different types of programs and technical and vocational programs, and introducing those in high school is too late. We need to start early on in middle school and earlier. Like I mentioned, I taught in Japan, and in those countries in Asia, they really regard education very important, and they start teaching technical and vocational type of practices at a middle school and high school level. So we need to make sure that we provide that equity, we get the best teachers in those schools, that we make sure that we can manage classroom, that we bring the communities and the businesses together. I know we keep talking about varied curriculum. We need to get those mentors into the schools. So kids need to see people like them or people like me who've been able to kind of break that ceiling and have an opportunity.
I mean, the goal is we want to make sure that we do not have any failing schools. D or F schools are unacceptable, and actually C schools are unacceptable. A, B schools move the needle for our students. So what we have to provide is make sure from across the district's perspective is we need to provide the same type of genuine training, genuine teaching across the district. So before, we had it kind of segmented. So what we were doing in District 1 wasn't actually being done in District 5 or District 3. We need to kind of standardize those practices and provide the same quality education to every student. Now, with that said, we do have some areas that we need to actually add more additional services to, and we have our title money to be able to go into those schools and give them extra support if they need. Some of those extra supports, like we talked about earlier, were mandatory VPK in some of the schools that are the hardest hit, so we can get those students at an earlier time to ensure that they have the ability to get in our system early, and then we can get them to a reading proficiency by the 3rd grade.